So this is for the Unit 7, Lesson 7. All you have to do today is the Engage and Activity 1. So, again, hopefully you tried it first. And so now we're going to go over what you did. So, A is a rational number. Choose a value for A and plot it on the number line. And so, you have all sorts of options that you can put for A. Okay, so you could put the point here and say -3. Or you could put it over here and say six. Okay, basically you can put it anywhere you want. We could put it here and say 0. Okay, so we have all sorts of different options. So now, based on where you plotted A, plot -A on the same number line. Well, so that just means -1 times A. Well, so if A is -3, well, -A is -1 times -3, which is 3. So 1, 2, 3, boing. If A is 6, then -A is -1 times 6, which is -6. And there we go. And if we said A, wrong color, was 0, then -A is -1 times 0, which is just 0. And so it stays in the same spot. And so for part B, I already answered that part right here. What is the value of -A that I plotted? So it all depends on what we said there. And so everybody in the room probably got different values because you didn't all necessarily say this same value for A to begin with. Now, a few of you did, I'm sure, because, there's only so many spots on this number line. So it only goes up to 8 on each side. And so, 24 people in the room, 17 spots when you include 0. So statistically, some of you said the same numbers. And so now for question 3. Noah said if A is a rational number, -A will always be negative. Well, do we agree with that? Well, the answer should be no. Because when we said that A was negative, we got a positive. And when we said A was 0, it was still 0. And so, no. 0 and negative numbers are rational numbers. A equals a negative number, then negative a is a positive number. If negative a equals 0, then a equals 0. Neither of those are negative. So negative a will not always be negative. Okay, negative a will only be negative if a was positive to begin with. Okay. So now, when we take a look at activity 1, I'm going to pause for a minute. All right, so I did a little setup here, and we've got this little vertical number line type thing, and we've got a little logic puzzle type thing here. So Claire's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. So the submarine is down here at negative 100 feet, because it says the submarine is at an elevation of negative 100 feet or 100 feet below sea level. And so let's compare the elevations of these 4 people to that of the submarine. So her elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine, and she is farther from sea level than the submarine. So since she is greater than the sub depth, then she's got to be above the sub. And since she's farther from the sea level, she's got to be more than 150 feet away, more than 100 feet away. So I'm going to, sorry, my tablet disconnected. Okay, I don't know what just happened here. So I'm back. So Claire is up here over 100 feet away from sea level. Now, Andre's elevation is less than the elevation of the submarine, and Andre is farther away from sea level than the submarine. Well, so if Andre is less than the submarine, if their elevation is less, then that means they are down here below the submarine. And since they're farther away from sea level, then they are farther away from the distance from Andre to sea level is greater. So they're farther away from sea level. Now Han elevation is greater than the submarine, and Han is closer to sea level than the submarine. So Han can be anywhere here. Han can be here, here. Okay, I gotta pause again. That is my wife calling. Okay, so Han can be above 0 or below 0, but it's got to be less than 100 on either side, since they're closer to sea level. So it's got to be less than 100 so that the distance to sea level is less than 100. Now, Moon's elevation is the same distance away from sea level as the submarine. So in order for that to happen, there are two possibilities. Lynn is at the same distance as the submarine, or Lynn is up here, and so at 100 feet, the distance to sea level is the same. And so now when we fill in our table, okay, they filled in the first row for us. Okay, so Claire was over 100 feet away, so 150 feet. Well, 150 is greater than negative 100, and so the distance from sea level is the absolute value of 150, or 150 feet. A possible elevation for Andre. Well, it just has to be something smaller than negative 100. Well, smaller than negative 100 would be negative 125, negative 150, negative 101. Well, negative 125 is less than negative 100. And so now the absolute value of negative 125 or 125 feet.
Grandma couldn't go in to make sure you took off your boots.
And now Han. Now, like I said, Han is anywhere in this section. So I'm going to put, since I left Han right here, I'm going to say Han is at negative 20. Well, negative 20 is greater than negative 100. And so they are at the absolute value of negative 20, or 20 feet. And now for Lynn, they were either the same distance as they were either at the same depth as the sub, or the opposite of the sub, so that the distance away from sea level is the same as the submarines. So I put her at the opposite, so they're at 100 feet. And well, 100 is greater than negative 100. And so they are at it, the absolute value of 100, or 100 feet. Priya says her elevation is less than the submarines, and she is closer to sea level. Is that possible? Well, if your elevation is less than the sub, then you're down here. Okay? If you're less than the sub, you're in this section. But if you're in this section, you're also farther away from sea level. So, no, it is not possible. If you are less than negative 100 feet, your absolute value is greater than 100. It's not possible to be less for both. And that's it. That's all you're doing. Good luck on your quiz, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.